This is another condition to add to the list of problems that I have. So, boys, don't all come at once. Hello, I am back with another video, and as you can see from the title, today is about a condition called dermatillomania. Basically, I was browsing on YouTube, as you do, and I came across someone called Colleen, who most people will know her by Miranda Sings. I don't watch her videos anymore, but she was on Recommended, and she was talking about a disorder that she suffers from, which is called dermatillomania. So I watched it and I was like, oh my god, that is what I have. This was a huge breakthrough for me because I have suffered with this for as long as I can remember, and I never really knew what it was. I thought, I don't know, like I don't know anybody else with it or as bad as I have it. So I was kind of very isolated about getting help with it. And it just gets worse and worse and worse, to the point where now I'm like, I really need to do something about this. I've had many therapists in the past for unrelated topics, but I always wanted to kind of cover this problem that I've had. And we kind of always assumed it was anxiety, OCD, perfectionism, which in a way it is, but that's not the sole reason for it, which I've basically only just realised, so, and that kind of explains why it hasn't gone away. But now I know, so now that I know this, I want to kind of share my experience in the hopes that someone else may have it and finally understand why, because it really isn't talked about at all. I mean, so many things aren't talked about yet, so it's really not understood at all, and it's just really about spreading awareness. So yeah, let's begin. Dermatillomania is basically a type of OCD, but it's not treated solely on that aspect, it's treated on it being dermatillomania. It is a skin picking disorder, and it's in the same category as trichotillomania, which more people know about, and if you don't know what that is, it's obsessive hair pulling, so you like pull out your hair. So with dermatillomania, this is skin picking. What they'll do is they'll pick their skin so obsessively until it bleeds or scars. Some of you may be thinking, well, I pick my skin, I bite my nails, does that mean I have dermatillomania? And the answer to that is probably not. It isn't the same as just biting your nails, biting the skin around your nails, picking at blisters or scabs or anything like that. The thing that categorises it as dermatillomania is when you cannot actually stop and it becomes very damaging to your body. So usually bleeding and scarring. And Colleen described it perfectly on her video.
It's an impulse control disorder, and it's also in the family of BFRBs, which is a body-focused repetitive behavior. So trichotillomania, which is the hair pulling disorder, is also in this family. This mental illness is characterized by one's obsessive picking at their own skin. And everyone kind of picks at their skin, right? So you're probably thinking, well, I pick at like the skin around my fingers, or I pick at the skin on my face, like if I have a blemish or something. It is very common to kind of pick at your own skin when you're nervous or just fidgeting, you know, that's very common. But what makes this disorder different is I will do it obsessively and for hours, and until there is tissue damage, scarring, bleeding, gashes, wounds. So kind of all day, every day, I'm in this tug of war with myself of like getting into this trance-like state where I have a picking or pulling episode, feeling satisfaction and determination and comfort, and then the second it's done, feeling extreme embarrassment, shame, disappointment.
When you bite your nails or bite your skin, which most people do, and someone tells you to stop, you're going to stop. You're going to be like, oh, sorry, didn't realise. But with me, if someone tells me to stop what I'm doing, I tend to get very angry. I can become very distressed. Most of the time, I will find another room to do it in. But sometimes that is impossible for me to leave the room, and so it becomes very distressing and overwhelming. And this is why it's kind of linked to OCD, in that it's a constant thought a obsessive thinking about it, so that finally when I do get the chance to continue biting, all this overwhelmingness piles up and I release it all later and it ends up being double harm. But I just want to point out it isn't a form of self-harm. The way that dermatillomania normally works is that it's about perfectionism, so it's about looking at your parts of your skin, maybe your hands, your feet, your face, and finding an imperfection on it and then picking it until it's perfect, which is obviously ridiculous because the more you pick, the worse it gets and the less perfect it is. That's why it's a condition, but it's an irrational thought. To determine if you think you have it, these are some of the questions that you might want to ask. So the first one is, can you actually physically stop? If someone tells you to stop or points it out that you're doing it, would you be like, oh, well, okay, or whoops, I didn't notice? Or would you become distressed that you need to leave the room and find another room to continue it in? If you stopped, would you have obsessive thoughts about it? Does your picking frenzy always end in bleeding? Sometimes it won't end in bleeding and it can just be a small episode, but most times the action continues until it starts bleeding or so much of an area has been picked. Do you do it for hours on end, or is it affecting your daily life? What this means is, are you having these picking episodes for a very significant amount of time? And when I say does it affect your daily life, when you get into these episodes of picking, is it getting in the way of things? Like, for example, with me, when I was in exams at school, I would find something to pick and then I would pick for half an hour, wasting all that time in my exam, and then realise, oh my god, I've wasted that time. Sometimes I knew that I was wasting the time, but I just couldn't stop until it was done. And that was more important to me than continuing my exam. Another example is, you've got to go somewhere, you're late for something, but you've just noticed something that you need to pick and you cannot put it on a hold to go to wherever you need to go. Do you get relief or pleasure or satisfaction after you've done it? Do you feel desperate to do it? Is there this overwhelming urge to do it? And is it getting to a point where you're having to cover it up, or you're becoming very anxious about the damage that has been caused and avoiding situations where it might be noticeable because it's so obvious? So now that you have an understanding of what dermatillomania is, I'm going to explain my personal experience and share with you some images. So my picking started when I was a child, and it was just nail biting at first, like everybody. But it very quickly progressed to biting my lips. I think because I was picking my nails so much, I started to feel things on my lips and I started to pick it. I think it was quite a few years later where I started to become unsatisfied with just biting my nails, and I started to bite the skin around the nails, and very, very, very slowly the skin picking would get further down my hands, away from the nails, to the point where it's not even the nails anymore. Where now, right now, I am picking the skin all the way down to my palm. The lip biting is very on and off, so sometimes it can get so bad where I'm biting all the way down here, so the skin starts to come all the way down here. I have to wear concealer and lipstick every time I go out, and if I don't, I just become so gross and anxious and insecure with my hands. Unfortunately, they are so damaged that they have scarred, and they actually have nerve damage. Right now my hand is actually at its best. Not at its best, but it's not as bad as it usually is. But because it's scarred, you'll be able to notice that it's all red. So there's very little I can do to cover up hands because they are so damaged. Concealer just doesn't work on it. Of course, any normal person would look at the damage that I've done and think, I need to stop this, this is really bad. But because it's a condition, I just can't do, I cannot stop. and no matter how bad it gets, that's not going to put me off doing it. Some days when I bite my hands, I will bite all the way down the fingers, and it can get so bad that I cannot bend my fingers, and some days I can't get them wet or shower because it hurts so much. I am now going to display some of the pictures of what my hands and lips look like when they are really bad. So if you don't want to look at this and you want to skip, because it does get quite gross and there is blood, I will display the timestamp here that you can skip to. So here are the pictures. In Colleen's video, she explained that sometimes it correlates, well, it usually correlates with other disorders like ADHD and OCD and potentially even autism.
Usually classified as OCD, which is obsessive compulsive disorder. And that is true for a lot of people, but for me, it is from my ADHD more than from OCD. And hyperfocusing and fixating on picking at my skin was my way of focusing that hyperactivity in my brain onto something. So instead of me jumping around and squirming around in my seat, I was actively picking at my own skin.
Maybe this is a way of helping me calm down, or it might be correlated with OCD because that is something that I also have, and with the autism it could potentially be some form of stimming because it really does help me calm down, which I might do another video on if you want to see that, just all about stimming. There are ways to treat it. This includes CBT therapy, which is cognitive behavioural therapy, a lot of different therapies really, different types of therapies. Another way to treat it is to identify what your triggers are and try to work from that. Finding activities to distract you. With me in my hands, I can wear gloves. But yeah, I don't, at the moment, I don't really know because I haven't cured mine. But yeah, I hope that this helped some people or made some of you realise that you have it so that you can now move forward and try and find a way to prevent it. But yeah, this was quite a sensitive topic for me. It's always something that I've hidden. When I make new friends or meet new people, I try so hard to hide it from them. I don't know, I feel like I'm not gonna put this video out because I don't want people that I know to realise that I have it, because my closest friends and family know I have it. Yeah, I'm currently in the process of trying to sort it out, and I'm hoping that maybe in the future I will get to say that I no longer have dermatillomania. Thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed it. There's quite a few videos that I have prepared, so I'm hoping that I can bring out more videos because it's been a while. As usual, I just can't do this. I'm so bad at making videos. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you on my next video. Thank you. Bye.